A great tactician creates plans.
Well, on the Democratic side, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who's on with Rachel Maddow last night, explained why she stepped down as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee to support Bernie Sanders.
Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns.
It came to a point where I had to see where can I be most effective because there is so much at stake in this election. I'm endorsing Bernie Sanders because he has that sound judgment and that foresight and that commitment to stopping these interventionist wars of regime change. And there's a very clear difference there between him and Secretary Clinton.
Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? You're the saddest bunch I ever met, but you can bet before we're through.
Wasserman Schultz, chair of the Democratic National Committee. In Washington, while I'm in Florida, there's something wrong with this picture.
I know, there is.
Congresswoman, the Gabbard resignation and endorsement of Bernie Sanders on foreign policy grounds.
Mr. I'll make a man out of you. Tranquil as a forest, but on fire within.
Against a former Secretary of State came on a day when there was the beginning of a two-part, very in-depth series leading the New York Times, exposing the problems in Hillary Clinton's advocacy to intervene in Libya and how she persuaded the president to basically take out Gaddafi. And what we now are seeing is a failed state as a result.
Once you find your center, you are sure to win. You're a spineless, pale, pathetic lot, and you haven't got a clue. Somehow I'll make a man out of you.
Plus the email releases that came last night, the last bunch of more than 3,000 pages. What about her vulnerability on foreign policy?
Well, Andrea, I know you are aware that, I'm not in a position to be able to comment or analyze the prospects for either one of our candidates. My function as the chair is to neutrally manage the primary, and, the Congresswoman decided rightfully that if she was no longer able to follow our rules and be neutral, that it was appropriate for her to step down, and that certainly was her right to do so.
I'm never gonna catch my breath. Say goodbye to those who knew me. Boy, was I a fool in school for cutting gin. This guy's got him scared to death.
Hope he doesn't see right through me.
Now I really wish that I knew how to swim.
Secretary, you have two incredibly well-qualified candidates for President of the United States, and if you look for the last 24 hours, what's going on the other side of the aisle, where we have candidates for president talking about the size of one another's hands and ears, compared to our candidates who are talking about how to keep Americans safe and how to continue to move our country forward and make sure that people have an economic shot to succeed. I'm confident the American people will ultimately elect our nominee as president.
You must be swift as the coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Is there a place in the Democratic Party structure for someone who is a young congresswoman, a veteran from Hawaii, who represents a whole new voice in the Democratic Party, and here she's really either been shut out or feels that she has no role to play?
Well, that's not true at all. In fact, I've heard Congresswoman Gabbard answer questions multiple times in the last day that said her decision was exclusively related to her desire to endorse a candidate for president, which she could not do as a vice chair and as an officer of the DNC. That was an appropriate decision, and she certainly was and continues to be welcome as a member of the Democratic Party, and she's an elected member of the Democratic Party from the state of Hawaii, representing her state in the United States House of Representatives.
Time is racing toward us till the Huns arrive. Heed my every order, and you might survive.
How difficult is it going to be to campaign against the phenomenon known as Donald Trump, who has just broken every rule in politics? This is Trump on Sunday in Huntsville, Alabama, with Jeff Sessions going after Hillary Clinton.
She's probably protected by the Democrats, but she should not be allowed to run, folks, I'll tell you. I will beat her. The other guys are not going to beat her, folks. They're not going to win. They're not.
You're suited for the rage of war. So pack up, go home, you're through. How could I make a man out of you?
Parents of those two soldiers who were just killed in Afghanistan, well, we just have to be engaged. As a soldier, I will tell you that answer is unacceptable. We have to bring our troops home from Afghanistan. We are in a place in Afghanistan where we have lost so many lives. We've spent so much money that's coming out of every one of our pockets, money that should be going into communities here at home, meeting the needs of the people here at home. We are no better off in Afghanistan today than we were when this war began.
Seconds, go.
Good man.
Fair enough.
I appreciate that.
I hear what you're saying.
I would just say I don't want to be engaged. I wish we were spending all this money in places that I've represented that have been completely forgotten and we were rebuilding. But the reality of it is, if the United States isn't engaged, the Taliban will grow and they will have bigger, bolder terrorist acts. We have got to have some present there. The
Taliban was there long before we came in. They'll be there long before we leave.
Well,
we cannot keep U.S. troops deployed to Afghanistan thinking that we're going to somehow squash this Taliban that has been there, that every other country that's tried
I didn't say squash them. When we weren't in there, they started flying planes into our buildings. So I'm just saying right now,
the Taliban didn't attack us on 9/11. Al-Qaeda did.
Well, I understand.
Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11.
I understand.
That's why I and so many other people joined the military to go after Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban.
They must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire.
The Taliban was protecting those people who were plotting against us. All I'm saying is, if we want to go into elections and we want to say that we got to withdraw from the world, that's what President Trump is saying. We can't. I would love for us to.
You know who's protecting Al-Qaeda right now in Saudi Arabia? Which didn't exist before. No? And so let's just finish this one point, because we feel for the suffering of people in these countries, and we want to be able to help them. And so many of these wars are begun and waged from a place of humanitarianism. Yeah. But the reality is, and it's a harsh reality, that there is more suffering and more loss of life and more destruction as a result of these wars, which does not serve the people in these countries, nor does it serve our interests and our security.